Well, when we were picking the city, we had this kind of excellent meeting where a large number of the art staff came in with PowerPoints describing what city they think it should take place in, with a lot of lovely pictures supporting their arguments. And ultimately, we decided on Seattle because the studio's here and we thought we could do a spectacular job making it feel very, very real.
Well, it seems like just a provincial decision, and I would be wrong if I said there was none of that, but the reality is that Seattle was high on our list because it was not an overblown city. You know, it's not like there's 19 games that have been set there. And it's a city that has a lot of interesting weather and architecture, a mixture of old and new, a lot of small neighborhoods. It had a lot of features that made it really appealing. So, you know, when you look at doing a next-gen rendered game and you want to see wet reflections and you want to see atmospherics, all those things are readily present and apparent in our beloved city. And so it made a lot of sense to us. We were really pleased when we presented this, you know, I don't know, 18 months ago to not just the US teams at Sony, but also the European and the Japanese teams, that Seattle had enough cachet for them that they were all pleased that we had chosen it as well. And so that became the decision.
So when we decided to set the game in Seattle, one of the things we wanted to do was make the game about things that happen here, about the people who live here. You'll see a lot of local landmarks, and you see people that come from the area, and there are a lot of Native Americans that live in the Seattle area, and Delson's one of them.
I think like a lot of things, you're always looking to draw things together, to bring things together, to make them more related and less random. And so, you know, we knew we wanted to set this in Seattle, and Seattle's history, you know, if you live here, the place names and the culture has a rich history that's derived from the Indian tribes of the Pacific Northwest. And so it made sense to us to have that. It's not the central part of the story that he's on, you know, some vision quest or anything like that. Rather, it connects him, you know, in a really deep way to the place where the game is set. And that's why we made that choice.
We wanted to bring a sense of believability, of just reality to it. And that meant doing things like getting the real world Space Needle, the real architecture, and getting all the details of the world exactly right.
When we did the first two games, Empire City was sort of a parable for New York and New Marais was a parable for New Orleans. And so the obvious thing would have been to do that for Seattle. I think that when we think about the city, we think about the most iconic piece of that being the Space Needle. And I think unless we wanted to do, you know, some kind of morph of that, the Galactic Needle or something like that, I think that we decided, hey, we want to put the Space Needle in, we should just call it Seattle.
Well, the importance of having the studio right next to downtown Seattle is big because, as you might imagine, the devil's in the details, right? What does a trash can look like? It's easy to spot because you know it from your heart because you walk by it on the way to the bus coming to work. What does it sound like in the streets? How much trash buildup is there? All of these things, what you think are kind of goofball, you end up having to guess in cities that you don't live in, but we can do the job exactly right. And then when you wander around the place, it feels cohesive and real. You know, of course, we're not trying to make a carbon copy of the city. We're trying to take all the best parts of the city, the iconic bits, put it in there, make it feel real, but we change around streets and heights to make the best possible gameplay we can. I mean, we are making a video game. You know, we can do a great job with Seattle. We live here, and we didn't want to mess it up.